So what's going on, guys? My name is Mr. Dalek JD, and today we are going to be talking about my thoughts on World War II Zombies and reflect upon it so far, now that the game has been out for a whole month. It's quite crazy that this month has flown by so quickly, and I think that's given us enough time to really digest World War II Zombies, talk about our opinions on it and where exactly it's at, and just basically talk about the game. I feel like this hasn't really been discussed in a YouTube video, and I really want to dive in and get your opinions as well down below in the comment section of what you think, both positive and negative. Now, of course, as time goes on, my opinion might change, but at the current state, the current time of year we're at, where we only have both the Final Reich and Groston House as playable maps inside of World War II Zombies, and this game's been out for a month now, this is where my head's at, and perhaps maybe it is where you guys are too. I've done this before in the past where I made separate videos on what Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare Zombies did right and did wrong, but in this video we're just going to mash them all together. Now, we're not going to go in any particular order starting with positives and then negatives, we're going to weave them both in. Now, I want to start off by saying that already with this game and the one map that we have for the main story, the backstory is already pretty damn interesting and very carefully thought out. There's been a lot of attention to detail across the entire map with regards to the backstory, the design of the zombies, the actual design of the bosses, how they work, the beautiful designs of all of these zombies and these zombies bosses. It's quite clear that Sledgehammer Games have put a lot of time and effort into this, and it truly shows. Each zombie boss that we have, such as the Brenner, such as the Wussling, the Pests, they are all very unique in appearance and the way that they behave. And that overall gives you a great feeling and atmosphere the moment you jump into the map. It feels like you're actually immersed in a pretty crazy world, which is pretty believable and is what I feel is very authentic to the time period. This goes in as well with the fact that, again, atmosphere and story off to a very, very promising start. We have the backstory on why we're here, how this area became the Final Reich that we see when we play the map. Basically, nothing really is left to questions. It's all pretty much covered and answered, which is something absolutely great, and it shows that Sledgehammer are really caring about the story. Now, I also want to add in that the characters already have more depth and likability, in my opinion, than other iterations of Zombies, such as Infinite Warfare. With Zombies in Spaceland, there was no real indication of me liking or thinking that these characters had any depth, as we knew pretty much nothing about them. While straight away, as we jump into the Final Reich, we have at the bare minimum a little bit of backstory on every single character, as well as a lot more in-depth story on the main characters, that being Marie Fisher. It's quite clear that Sledgehammer are already setting Marie Fisher up to essentially be the leader, the Richthofen of World War II Zombies, which is no means a bad thing, as it shows a clear direction that they're taking here, and it allows there to be a lot of depth. There's already a lot of depth with Marie Fisher's character, and the real genuine struggle and adventure that she's willing to go through in order to save her brother, as well as try finish the objectives and commands that her brother has given. Now, also as well, unlike with Zombies in Black Ops, for example, where it took until Black Ops 3 for us to get a real clear explanation on why things are the way they are, such as how there's a mystery box, how there's perk machines, everything is very clearly explained within the Final Reich, and there's nothing left to the imagination. It's literally explained in a much more simpler, grounded, easy to understand way, such as the Jack-in-the-Boxes, which were an invention created by Marie Fisher's dad as he was a toy maker and was forced to create toys to inflict destruction rather than to cause joy. And the explanation on how the zombie outbreak's even a thing is because of the Geistkraft energy, which was discovered in the Emperor's Chamber by Dr. Straub and his group. Again, a much more believable and interesting take on it rather than the iterations we've had, such as IW. And what I also like as well about the characters is that they come across as more realistic. We see real human emotion at the end of the Easter egg from Marie Fisher, where you actually see her crying. She's upset. This is something we've not really seen before in pretty much every other Zombies iteration. It really helps hit home how realistic this is and how important it is to them, and basically builds a lot of depth and layers to characters that we've not really thought of before. And especially when you're trying to introduce a whole new cast, it's definitely a good thing in my opinion. Now, at first, I thought the addition of the notebook was pretty stupid. I was like, are we really that dumb that we need to be guided in this way? But I actually prefer this now, as it is a great way to introduce the game to players that are new to Zombies and gives them all the information they'd ever ever want to need to know. Some people barely even scratch the surface with any zombies maps, and it might be a little bit overwhelming at times for them to jump in to such a rapid and quite daunting experience. Of course, the atmosphere hits home here, being one of the freakiest maps we've ever seen. Bear in mind, these jump scares do get incredibly old very quickly, but there's still times where this game does catch me off guard, and once in the blue moon, I still do get scared. Now, adding in the notebook obviously makes it a lot easier for you to complete the casual Easter egg, and I think having not one but two Easter egg objectives are great for introducing two different gameplay experiences. On the one hand, you've got the casual, relaxed, quick session, so you want to just jump into a game of the Final Reich. It only takes about 30 to 40 minutes really for you to get to the end of that Easter egg, and you've completed it, and that's you done for that session. Or you can go for the more difficult, rewarding gameplay experience, which has a worthwhile reward that affects the gameplay afterwards. And what I mean by this is something which I think a lot of people forget about, is you get given all 6 perks when you complete that hardcore Easter egg. Now, these aren't permanent, but the perk slots are. So you can have all the perks in the map pretty much all the time once you complete that Easter egg. And as crazy as it sounds, there's not been any maps on launch for any zombies game that's rewarded us with all perks before. Shadows of Evil gave us nothing, Infinite Warfare gave us nothing, Black Ops 2 gave you nothing as well. So that goes to show that they really are caring about what they're rewarding, and just like with Treyarch and IW, the rewards got a little bit better every time. So I hope that's something that we do see. But it definitely doesn't go unnoticed. And the last thing I'd say as well is that pretty much every weapon in this map is fantastic to use pack-a-punched. Weapons like the M1 Garand and a double barrel shotgun, for instance, would normally be horrible to use, but these weapons, and a bunch of others as well, are incredibly powerful and useful weapons to use, and they're also extremely fun. Like, it's very, very surprising how awesome pretty much 90% of the guns in this game are when pack-a-punch. And I also add that the pack-a-punch is very simple to unlock, which is definitely a positive for the casual player. I have made points before with Black Ops 3, for instance, that maps like Zetsubo no Shima is just absolutely ridiculous to get power on and get pack-a-punch, whilst Dreisendracht hit the nail on the head being very simple. And this is just a little bit above that Dreisendracht pack-a-punch. It's very, very easy to get, and it's definitely a positive. And the Wonder Weapon is very simple to obtain as well through something which you'd pretty much do every game anyway, and it's very easy to obtain, no RNG necessary, unlike the Apothicon Servant or other Wonder Weapons we've seen before in Zombies. Very easy, and for the most part pretty useful as well. Now, with all of these positive points, there's also quite a few negative points, and I feel this is something which a lot of you guys are feeling now, including myself, which is why you don't normally see a lot of World War II Zombies on the channel. And the first thing I want to point out is that the Final Reich as a map offers a very limited amount of replayability. After completing both the Easter eggs dozens of times, the map offers very little else to do. It's a very fun map to play, don't get me wrong, and playing it every so often is extremely fun, but it just isn't fun to play consistently, and I don't really understand how this map doesn't have that factor. I can't really put my finger on it, but it's not a bad map by any stretch of the imagination. It's actually very, very good, but for some reason it just doesn't seem to have gripped me in the same way that other maps have on launch, and it just doesn't seem to really be a lot of replayability. That could be down to the fact that there isn't a lot of obvious known side Easter eggs as of now that we can do in order to make the replayability better. Especially right now, I've not played the Final Reich in quite a few days, as I just don't really see a big drive for me to go and play it. I've pretty much done everything that I could possibly do, and I'm just yearning for more new content via DLC maps at this point. I'm not sure if I felt this way last year with Infinite Warfare, maybe I did, but Black Ops 3 Shadows of Evil definitely lasted a lot longer. Now, this may come down to a few reasons. The first being the endgame grind for zombies, and it seems pointless right now. The game currently has XP issues with regards to going to high rounds where you aren't rewarded the XP you've earned for surviving so long. And prestiging as well, don't even get me started. It's pretty much a flawed system in my opinion, as the prestiging does not reward you in any way, and basically gives you no incentive to want to prestige. The calling cards you get for every prestige level are disappointing, and aside from that, there is literally no reason to prestige at all. You get given an extra class slot, but you only really use 2 to 3 class slots at any given time, and I don't feel like you need another one, and there needs to be some other way of you being rewarded. I'm not sure exactly how, but I just feel like it's really pointless to prestige, and one of the reasons why I feel that is that weapon attachments are locked based on your level rather than locked to using the actual weapon and leveling up that specific weapon, which feels so weird to me. Unlike Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare, I feel like I'm at a disadvantage when I prestige because my weapons don't have all the attachments and I have to level up to almost nearly full levels to a prestige in order to have every single attachment available to use. Black Ops 3 hit the nail on the head in my opinion with the XP system. I was addicted to playing zombies, I was addicted to prestiging, and I also love the fact that each weapon had its own level, so if I use that weapon a lot, I get rewarded by getting really good attachments to use on it. Something like this would definitely make me use all the weapons inside of the Final Reich, as I'd want to level them up and be able to put attachments on them to have extra benefits. Now I will admit that Sledgehammer have done a decent job by adding in weapon variants which have zombie perks like Infinite Warfare did, which is great. I don't see a great deal or benefit to any of these at the moment. Of course that will change as we go through the weeks and months of the game and get additional weapons and variants, but right now those seem pointless too. As much as I like the idea of the Raven research where you get tokens as you level up to unlock more things, by the end of a prestige you're going to have unlocked everything and have tokens left over that are pointless. I feel like this system is, whilst great, I don't think that you should have your Raven research wiped. Most of this stuff becomes incredibly crucial to use, and it's frustrating that you've gotten rid of it, and of course prestiging makes sense to start again, but I just feel like this system needs a little bit more tinkering in my opinion. Now, another reason why people are playing World War II Zombies a lot is of course to level up and to get supply drops. People don't want to be spending money on getting supply drops, and for a good few weeks now, there has been a really bad glitch where if you prestige, any supply drops you earn in game by leveling up to specific levels are not earned. Now I know that this is a issue which they are sorting very soon, but I still feel like it's unacceptable that a month later people are still not being rewarded for leveling up. Further, it goes on to my point that the endgame grind feels very, very pointless. Now one gripe I have with the cast of characters we have so far is that they are a very strong cast of characters. I pretty much like every single one, but apart from Marie Fisher and Klaus Fischer, we don't have any real depth or development on any of the other characters. We may of course get that through DLC, and if they want to go through the route of Black Ops 3 Zombies where every map we visited was pretty much a story based around one of the characters, then I feel that would be a very strong route. But at the moment there's only really one sole reason to like Marie, and that's because she is crucial to the actual story plot. The other characters are simply tag-alongs as it seems right now, but the creative director of World War II Zombies, Cameron Dayton, has confirmed on Twitter that we will be seeing the cast returning in future DLC maps, which is very, very good to know. But looking at World War II Zombies from a gameplay standpoint, I think they've got this great. But looking at World War II Zombies from a gameplay point of things, I think they've hit the nail on the head in terms of tuning everything to be pretty much perfect. The zombies are not too aggressive, they're just right in my opinion, and as the rounds go on and the game goes on, you do feel a sense of vulnerability as it does seem to get a little bit harder, which is only a good thing. I had this gripe before the game came out, and I sort of feel it a little bit now, where when you go into the higher rounds in the Final Reich, you do get ambushed by a lot of different zombie bosses, perhaps slightly too much for my liking, especially those whistling zombies. You can be at like maybe the mid-30s, and on the solo game, you could end the round and there could be like up to 7, maybe 10 whistlings just roaming around the map. I have no problems because pretty much every boss has a counter attack to them, which makes them very easy to take out. And obviously, like I mentioned earlier in the video, there's a lot of creativity which has gone into the design and the way that all of these different zombie types function, and I hope they carry on this creativity into the DLC, but I just don't want them to plague the maps too much with too many unnecessary bosses. But looking back at the previous game that Sledgehammer made, which was Advanced Warfare, even though Exo Zombies was not created by them necessarily and it was made by Raven Studios, it was of course looked over by Sledgehammer Games, and I feel they have learnt so much from Exo Zombies. Comparing that gameplay to the gameplay in the Final Reich, it's so slick and tuned down, it's just very, very nice. But overall, I think that Sledgehammer Games have made a very strong start with the Final Reich. It is a great launch map, probably one of the best maps we've had in years, but like I said, I just can't quite put my finger on it. But a month later, I'm a little bit burnt out on the Final Reich, and I'm excited to see where we go next. but I don't know if that's a good thing to feel that way towards the map this soon into the game's life cycle. You can sort of tell that this stigma is not felt just by me, but felt by a lot of the community, as a lot of zombie YouTubers that post daily content have stopped doing daily zombies because it's very difficult to find anything interesting to do on the final Reich at this point. It worries me ever so slightly that this may be the same case as we go further down into the DLC season. Hopefully it won't be, and of course Sledgehammer Games are probably looking over all of our feedback meticulously to try and make sure that they tune this experience to only get better and better. As much as IW had a pretty rough season in my opinion, I felt like as time went on, the DLC offerings for maps got better and better until we got given the Beast from Beyond, which I felt a lot more effort was put into the actual Super Easter Egg boss fight than the actual map itself. But nonetheless, this is my look over so far of World War II Zombies. I'd love to get your opinions down below in the comment section of what you feel about World War II Zombies so far. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are you bored of it already? Or are you still playing it every day? Please let me know. And also as a side note, Groston House as an additional survival map is only nothing but a good thing. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of playability, but it's still something different and adds another gameplay experience for those that don't want to simply jump in for a very casual game of zombies. The cutscenes are also incredibly well done. Sledgehammer Games know how to do cutscenes, and boy, that ending cutscene on the final Reich is beautiful. Although the ending is perhaps a little bit strange, it looks beautiful, and I can only expect the best quality like this to go forward within the next maps. And also, the intro to the Panzer Mortar boss fight is all in-game cutscene, which is pretty damn cool too, something which we may see in the future as Black Ops 3 and Treyarch knock this one out the park by having pretty much every single Easter egg ending cutscene to be an in-game cutscene. So it's something which you can only get by completing it in-game. That way it keeps a mystery and a secret until it's actually properly unlocked. Something which Sledgehammer could do down the line, but these cutscenes, these pre-rendered cutscenes are amazing. Like I said earlier, Sledgehammer Games are definitely listening to us, and I'm sure as time goes on, the quality of life with the mode will improve in terms of the end game grind, as well as offering a lot more to do in the actual maps themselves, so that the replayability is definitely a lot higher. But overall, an incredibly strong start from Sledgehammer, a lot of promise, story looks great, and story should be something which is focused on along with the gameplay, which at the moment is pretty much on a lovely balance. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me at all? Do you disagree? Drop a comment, let me know your thoughts. If you've made it to the end of the video, which you must do if you're hearing me at this point, then definitely drop a thumbs up on the videos. I'd really appreciate it, and give yourself a pat on the back as well. And make sure to subscribe for more zombie content like this and loads of other gameplays and live streams. But thank you for watching. You've been amazing. I'll catch you next time.